written production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.
Okay, you guys ready? I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to our board meeting today. I am Sue Olson, President of the 2021 Board of Directors. During this meeting, we request everyone please turn off their cell phones or put them in vibrate mode. Please remember that face masks are required at this meeting. Effective January 2017, we started taping our board meetings, and by entering this room and are participating in the meeting, you are hereby granting permission to the RCSC to record and use on video and audio tape your image, likeness, and voice. You are also waiving any claims you may have against the RCSC for using your image, likeness, and voice in connection with the video and audio taping of this meeting and broadcast and/or publication of such meeting for any purpose of the RCSC. In accordance with our corporate documents, a board meeting is generally held the second Monday and the last Thursday of each month, with the exception of July and August, when there are no board meetings. Before we begin the business at hand, I would like to introduce your board of directors and our management personnel. To my right, Treasurer Sheila Rooney.
Good morning.
Director Darla Akins.
Good morning.
Director Rich Hofer.
Morning.
And to my left, Vice President Mike Egge.
Good morning.
Secretary Dale Lair. Good morning. Director Steve Collins.
Hi, everybody, and thank you for coming.
Director Dan Schroeder.
Good morning.
And Marcia Johnson, our Corporate Executive Coordinator.
Good morning.
Our senior management team that are here, Jan Eck, General Manager. Mike Whiprud, Director of Buildings and Infrastructure. Chris Herring, our Director of Operations. Brian Duthu, Director of Golf and Grounds. And Jolynn Higgins, our Communication and RCSC Marketing Coordinator. I also want to recognize Alan Kleinhans, our audiovisual technician, who operates all the audio at this and other events, and Mike Dvorak up in the booth on video camera. Okay, Secretary Lair, do we have a board quorum?
Madam President, we do have a quorum.
All right, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Madam President, I so move.
Okay, I have a motion to approve.
I second.
Second, Mike, Vice President Egge. Any discussion? Okay, we have the motion to approve the agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay. Motion to approve the agenda has passed. Approval of our minutes from the April 12th, 2021 meeting.
Madam President,
Yes.
I so move to approve the minutes.
Okay, Secretary Laird made the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Director Collins. Any discussion? Okay, we have the motion to approve the minutes. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, motion passes. Approval of our treasurer's report.
Madam President, I so move.
Okay, Secretary Lair, I need a second. Seconded by Director Collins. Any discussion on the treasurer's report? Okay, we have the motion to approve the treasurer's report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Okay, that motion passes. Acceptance of the management report.
I so move.
I second. Motion made by Director Akins, seconded by Treasurer Rooney. Any discussion? Any discussion? I would like to comment, I am very pleased with the solar report. It looks like we are doing a lot better with solar. That is encouraging. So thank you. Whatever work you've done on it, it has proved to be good. Any other discussion? Okay. On the management report motion, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, motion passes. Committee recommendations, Secretary Lair.
I move to approve the recommendation of the Long Range Planning Committee to proceed with the survey of current RCSC members as written in the committee's plan and goals and objectives.
Madam President, I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion on allowing the LRP committee to go ahead with their survey, and it's seconded by Director Collins. Discussion. I first would like to say, I believe what we should do here, when it's time, is we should actually have a professional survey done, and that would help to survey our future generations to know what we really want in our upcoming centers. I think a professional survey would be a better use. Any other discussion?
Madam President,
Yes.
first of all, I like surveys. I think surveys serve a very useful purpose, and I have no problem with surveys or a committee doing surveys. I would echo your comment, but as I read the survey questions here, this is a push survey. And for folks not interested or not familiar with that, basically what that does is it asks you a question and pushes you to one answer or the other. Not all of these questions. There are some that are very, very good, but there are 6, 8 questions out of maybe 27 that I feel are push surveys, number one. Number two, it would have been better, in my estimation, had this committee come to the board either in a planning session or work session or some form and said, what does the board that's going to make the ultimate decision on things to improve or add to come to us and see what information we wanted and we needed, and that has not been done. So I'm in agreement with you. I think a professional survey company would probably best do something like this, and it probably would need to go to or the finance director, Bill Cook, and to put into the budget for next year and do it that way. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay. Secretary Lair?
Madam President, I know there's been a lot of concern regarding this survey, and I would like to reinforce the purpose and the aim of the research. As you know, the long-range planning back in 2019 did extensive research into the interests and trends of future retirees. From that research, which was validated by the Wall Street Journal, by the way, retirement for individuals reaching the age of 65 over the next 8 to 10 years and beyond is going to be very different than retirement for us. The survey was divided into general information and demographic sections, and then 3 sections of prospective change that our research produced. And it was active sports and activities, green space and activities, technology and activities. You know, a survey is research, and research is to validate, the research here is to validate our previous findings, but more importantly, this research is to see where on the timeline of change do Sun City residents sit. Very important. Our sample population was stratified for a very specific reason. It was done so that we could not only get a sense of what all respondents think about these topics, but so we could have a better gauge as to when to prepare for these changes. But let me tell you a little bit of what this survey is not. It's not about eliminating a golf course. It's not about buying more RCSC property. It's not about promoting a specific brand of fitness equipment. We are looking for trends and the timing of those trends over the next 10 years. I've been told that some of the survey questions are leading or a push. Some of the questions get down to very specific detail, and that's by design. I don't expect a strong support of esports and echelon bikes from an older demographic, but I do expect a more positive response from younger retirees. In research, you set up a null hypothesis. Then you analyze your data that either supports or negates that hypothesis. It is the analysis of the data from the survey that's critical. If a question is bad, the data analysis will show that. I suspect that the results of this survey will very likely generate another survey, perhaps more clarification on a trend. And it's not unusual when you do work like this that this is the result of it. And I can tell you just it happened this last week with our capacity analysis in the Long Range Planning Committee. You spend a lot of time, you collect the data, you think you've got everything right, and something comes back and it's just not jiving. And that happened with our bowling. And it's not a failure, it's just, it shows you that we didn't catch it. Something's wrong. And that just causes you to dig a little deeper and investigate a little bit more to get to where you need to be. And that's what it should be with this survey as well. You know, we have a fiduciary responsibility. We talk about that all the time to RCSC, but that responsibility isn't just for today. It's a responsibility for the future RCSC. And that's why the survey is so important. We need to know where we're going. You know, if you want to do a professional survey, it's going to cost you $50,000, $60,000. I don't have a problem with it. It's a lot of work. We're doing a lot of work here. And I would say move forward on the survey. If you don't like it, it is research. And I think that's the way you have to look at it. Don't be afraid to ask tough questions. It's okay. But let's analyze, let's move forward and analyze the results, see where we are.
My comment also is, I'm thinking we're surveying this, but several of the questions are going to lead people to believe we're going to be putting in all these options. And so that comes to us then, when are you doing this? And that's not necessarily happening. And so I think it is very misleading to do that.
Madam President?
Yes.
That was a criticism when we did the test survey with the board and upper management, and we did respond to that. We developed a marketing plan. The first page under tab 6 is an introduction to the survey, and that's what, when people, if they are selected to take the survey, this is the literature that they'll get prior to starting the initiation of the survey. We've also moved forward, and Jolynn Higgins put this together, and I thank her very much for helping us. We also have a press release that we're going to be putting in to the newspaper to inform residents that, and it's also going to go on the website so that people know that this is coming. It states very clearly that this is no immediate decisions or changes will occur. We've emphasized it, we've underlined it. It's for information purposes only.
However, your motion at this time is to approve them doing a survey. You are not approving the survey questions themselves. And I do believe that should be a board approval as well.
Well, I think that's a wordplay. If we can move forward with the survey is already written. And you know, to speak to Rich's comments about the board the board can do a survey anytime they want. This was in our goals and was approved. The goals in 2019 said we were going to do a survey of current residents about their interests and desires and trends, and we are basing it off our research. So that's always been there. I mean, if the board or upper management want to do a survey on anything, I mean, I don't see why they couldn't do that.
Okay, Director
Madam
Collins?
President,
Hold on.
please.
Director Collins?
You know, our people out in the Long Range Planning Committee have been working on this for over a year and a half. These are volunteers that work and do this job, and now it's like, seems to me like a slap in the face when you say they're not good enough, we're gonna hire professionals to do this. I feel badly for all our people that volunteer their time to do this, and then all of a sudden, after a year and a half, we tell them what they did was no good. And it's not so much what we want, it's not what management wants, it's what they want. And that's where we listen to what they want, and then we decide if it's appropriate, and we can do it with the attorney's blessings and the safety of our people. But we're just trying to find out what our residents want.
And I have a difference there because you are not asking what they want. You are giving them suggestions and asking them to vote on what you want.
But you don't think a survey company you're paying $60,000 is going to ask them what they want?
I believe there would be more open-ended questions.
Madam President,
Director Hofer.
to get back to the Secretary's one comment on 2019, I was chair of this committee in 2019, and I can tell you that the idea of doing a survey in 2019 was presented to this committee. The committee, in fact, there were questions written, and the committee itself voted that down. It never made it to the board because the committee decided not to do that survey. Thank you.
Secretary Lair.
Madam President, regarding the questions and the methodology of the survey, you know, we discussed open-ended questions. We decided to go, instead of going with qualitative questions, we wanted to go with quantitative questions. If you really want to analyze the data, and that's where the importance, that's where the value of doing a survey is in the quantitative data. You're not going to get that with open-ended questions. They've done surveys in the past. You can do that. It doesn't give you actionable data. And when you do a survey, you know, you're talking about pretty extensive data analysis afterwards. You know, it's not just going to be descriptive statistics. You know, you're going to look at cluster factors. You're going to do an ANOVA, analysis of variation. We've set up the strata, the substrata of the population so that we can compare how one set of a group of people feel about something versus another group. And that's really important when you're looking at a change that may take place 10 or 15 years down the road. What we don't want to do is to make a change with something that this community and these members are not interested in right now. That's really important. You can talk about the future, but you really need to know where on that timeline you sit. And that's the main purpose. We've got 3 sections we're looking at: technology, active fitness and sports, green space. If the community is not interested in that, you don't move on that. But it's always good to have that on the back of your mind because you only have an opportunity once every 40 or 50 years to renovate a recreational site, Lakeview, Mountain View, whatever. You need to know what the trends are. You can't make an educated decision if you don't know that. And that's all we're asking.
Any other discussion?
Madam President.
Vice President
So,
Ege.
Secretary Lair, of all the people that are sitting here today, will all of these people receive the survey?
It's a randomized survey. We did a statistical equation. You determine the sample size. Your answer is no. Not everyone will get the survey. What we've done is we've taken, they will be chosen by random. I have nothing to do with that. That's the IT department. And we're taking, we've broken it into age groups, which you see on your, so each one of those is a substrata. And whatever that population group, you know, under 55 or, you know, 65 to 74, whatever it is, what proportion of that age group is in our current population of over 30,000 people? That's the percentage of surveys that go out to that age group. So we're trying to reflect what we have in our community right now. You know, if the 64 to 74 group is the biggest group, they're going to get the lion's share. And I'm looking here, I don't think I have the exact breakdown here for you. I have it at home, but
Okay, I mean, so I'm just, Madam President, just, to Mr. or Director Collins's comment about, as he points to the audience here, why is it that not everybody sitting here would get at least an opportunity to participate in the survey?
Secretary Lane?
thank you. We talked about this. I will go back again on, I gave you the beginning part of the report, but I'm going to go back over it. We talked about a lot of ways to do this survey. We talked about direct mailing to every household, and that methodology was turned down. And the reason for that is not everybody in every household is an RCSC member in good standing, and that's what you have to be to participate in this survey. We talked about putting surveys out at all the rec centers. Again, we turned that down on the basis of bias because there's no control. You could have a group of people. I see we got a lot of line dancers here. All the line dancers come, they want something, it's going to skew your data. We chose to do this based on statistics. I included the formula that we used to determine the population size, and we did it for a number of reasons. Basically, when you do random sampling or any kind of sampling, it's practical, it's cost effective, and it's manageable. And that's why we did what we did, rather than sending it out to every single person. So if this passes and you happen to be chosen to take the survey, please take it seriously. You're representing a lot of people.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, right now we have a motion on the table to approve the recommendation of the LRP committee to proceed with a survey of current RCSC members as written in the committee's plan. Starting with Treasurer Rooney.
No.
Vice President Eggy.
No.
Secretary Lair.
Yes.
Director Collins.
Yes.
Director Schroeder.
No.
Director Hofer.
No.
And I vote no. Motion fails. Moving on, Marcia, has anyone signed up to speak regarding any motions on the agenda today?
Madam President, Bruce Lamb signed up to speak on the second reading of motion number 1.
Okay. When you approach the microphone, we ask that you state your name and member number, and each speaker will have 3 minutes for comments as indicated by the light on the stage.
My name is Bruce Lamb, 110989. It's in reference to opening up normal. I understand you want to look out for the employees, but that employee doesn't live here in Sun City. Generally, if you're looking at the ones under 55, they live outside the city. So that means when he leaves here, he can go to a bar that has no restrictions, even go to a restaurant here in Sun City. There's no restrictions for him having to wear a mask, or go to a grocery store, go to a convenience store. I understand you want to protect them. You are taking protections. You got plastic up between you and the person at the desk. That person at the desk wears a mask. He is protected. Who are you not protecting or letting us have the right that we pay to use these different facilities? Go play cards, line dancing. I understand there's a lot of line dancers here. It's the standpoint you're holding back our residents from using our facilities. Our residents have sometimes go to another bowling alley. You go downtown to the bowling alley downtown, they're open, no masks, no restrictions, and so on. We had family in town, we had to go to Sun City West in order to bowl. But they have no restrictions. They're not requiring you to wear a mask or anything else. You are protecting your employees by having the plastic shields up that you have at the desks. You ask them to wear masks to protect them. Like every other place that I've been to, restaurants, they have their employees wear masks. I've been to the grocery stores, the convenience stores, they are wearing masks to be able to protect their employees from getting the virus. But you're hurting those here that we pay to use these facilities and not be able to do it. That is the bad point about what you're doing, holding off until the 17th of May? Open things up for our people here. You're doing the protection. You've got the face shields, you've got the masks, you've got the plastic up. I would even recommend you keep the plastic up, or the plastic shields up until the 1st of January, at least. But don't hold our residents' backs from using these facilities. I want to get back to my card playing. You can't do that 6 feet apart. It just can't be done. I recommend that you change that date from 17th of May to an earlier date. That's my thing. Thank you.
Marcia?
Madam President, no one else has signed up.
Okay, moving ahead with our motions. Second reading, motion 1, Secretary Lair.
Thank you, Madam President. Board, I move to accept the recommendation. Oh,
I'm sorry, you did not sign up on the motion, to speak at the motion. So point of order, at this time, we move ahead with the motions. Thank you. I'm sorry, Secretary Lair, please continue.
okay. I move to accept the recommendation by General Manager Jan Eck for getting back to normal at the RCSC, effective May 17th, 2021, as written.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Treasurer Rooney seconds. Okay, I have a motion to accept the recommendation by GM Jan Eck of getting back to normal at RCSC, effective May 21st as written. Any
May
discussion?
17th.
May 17th, 2021, yes. Any discussion? Okay, ready for a vote. Vice President Eggy,
Yes.
Secretary Lair,
Yes.
Director Collins,
Yes.
Director Schroeder,
Yes.
Director Hofer,
Yes.
Director Akins,
Yes.
Treasurer Rooney,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Moving ahead.
Madam President,
Yes.
I would move
Director
that
Hofer.
the third reading of this motion be waived.
I need a second.
I second.
Seconded by Vice President Eggy. Any discussion?
Madam President?
Yes, Secretary Lair?
I normally don't like to do this, but I think in this case, it's really important. And all the clubs, the executive boards of the clubs have to have some time to plan and to figure out how they're going to manage these changes for their clubs. So, you know, in light of that, I think we should move forward with waiving the third reading.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion on the table to waive the third reading and do our getting back to normal May 17th, starting with Secretary Lair,
Yes.
Director Collins,
Yes.
Director Schroeder,
Yes.
Director Hofer,
Yes.
Director Akins.
Yes.
Treasurer Rooney,
Yes.
Vice President Eggy.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion passes. We will be opening on May 17th. Everything's back to normal. Okay, third reading, motion 2, Secretary Lair. Did I skip one? Wait a minute, did I skip one?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I did. Third reading, motion 1 by Director Schroeder. Sorry, Dan.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to allow the Sun City Lawn Bowl Clubs to host the prestigious U.S. National Championships of Lawn Bowling event in late October 2022, which will require 2 greens for 6 days.
Okay, I need a second.
Second.
Seconded by Director Akins. Any discussion on this? Okay, seeing no discussion, we have a motion to allow Sun City Lawn Bowling Clubs to host the prestigious U.S. National Championships of Lawn Bowling event October 2022, requiring 2 greens for 6 days. Director Akins.
Yes.
Director Schroeder. Sorry.
Yes.
I'm skipping around because I didn't have that lined up, sorry. Director Hofer.
Yes.
Treasurer Rooney.
Yes.
Vice President Eggy.
Yes.
Secretary Lair.
Yes.
Director Collins.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion passes third reading. That is a final. Okay, now, third reading, motion 2 by Secretary Lair.
Madam President, board members, I move to accept the recommendation by the Director of Finance, Bill Cook, to provide, design, and a request for proposal from the Fire Security Electronics and Communications Incorporated for the development of a safety and security initiative for a cost of $35,800 not included in the budget.
Okay, are you changing the motion then?
No.
Okay,
Did I read it wrong?
yes. So you're asking for them to obtain the cost.
Obtain, sorry.
Okay, all right. I need a second.
I second.
I'm sorry. This says, I move to approve the recommendation to obtain costs to provide design.
No. We already. That's old, sorry.
Okay, well, you're going to have to tell me
You
what
want me to
is
read
then.
it again?
Yes, because my book, it's saying that.
Okay. I move to accept the recommendation of the Director of Finance, Bill Cook, to provide, design a request for proposal from Fire Security Electronics and Communications Incorporated for the development of a safety and security initiative for a cost of $35,800 not included in the budget.
Okay, now a second.
I second.
Seconded by Treasurer Rooney. Any discussion on this? Okay, so we have a motion to approve the recommendation by the Director of Finance, Bill Cook, to provide a design and request for proposal for the Fire Safety Electronics and Communications Incorporation for development of safety and security initiative for the cost of $35,800. Taking a vote, Director Schroeder,
Yes.
Director Hofer,
Yes.
Director Akins,
Yes.
Treasurer Rooney,
Yes.
Vice President Eggy,
Yes.
Secretary Lair,
Yes.
Director Collins.
Yes.
And I vote yes, that motion passes third reading. Okay, we have nothing on consent agenda. We have an agenda item, Director of Golf and Grounds, Brian Duthie.
President Wilson, directors of the board, we're requesting in addition to board policy 17 to better define the types of tires used on personal golf carts on the courses. Recently, we've received many varied requests, including mobility scooters and three-wheeled bicycles. Obviously, those types of vehicles have very narrow tires that can cause a lot of damage, especially to turf that may be wet. So our proposal, as written, is to establish guidelines for tires used on our 8 golf courses. The tires used on the vehicle must be referred to as a golf course tire by the manufacturer. Tires must have a rounded vertical tread with a depth not to exceed 1/4 inch. The width must be a minimum of 8 inches, and the tire pressure must not exceed 28 PSI.
Okay,
Any questions?
any questions for Brian?
Yes, I have a question.
Director Collins, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. The tire is referred to as golf course by the manufacturer. How is our owners going to know that they have a correct tire?
That information can be provided by the golf cart manufacturer or the person, the tire company selling the tires. And we can also work on generating I don't know if it would be an all-inclusive list because there's a lot of manufacturers out there, but we could work on developing some type of list that could be referred to.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any questions for Brian? Do I have a motion to approve?
Madam President,
Yes, Director Hofer.
I move that the board accept Director of Golf and Grounds' motion or suggestion that we change Board Policy 17, item number 9, as written.
Okay, I need a second.
second.
Seconded by Vice President Eggy. Any discussion? Okay, so we have a motion to accept the change to board policy number 17 by adding item number 9, dealing with the golf cart tires, and I'll go for a vote. Director Hofer?
Yes?
Director Akins?
Yes.
Treasurer Rooney?
Yes.
Vice President Eggy?
Yes.
Secretary Lair?
Yes.
Director Collins?
Yes.
Director Schroeder?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion passes first reading.
Thank you.
Thank you. Member comments. Marcia, has anyone signed up to speak?
Mike Blanchett?
Come on down.
Hello, my name is
I'm
Mike
sorry,
Blanchett.
Sir, you have to keep your mask
You have to keep the mask
Thank
on. Darn it. Okay, my name is Mike Blanchett, and my number is 108987. I've lived here in Sun City 10 years. The clock isn't running.
No, we don't run it at this time.
Okay. And I think Sun City is the best place in the world to live, and it's because of you guys and you guys. Thank you very much, and especially you, Jan. We're going to miss you very much. Sorry to see you go. Anyway, we're going to look ahead at the future a little, and it turns out that all of us who were grown up in the 50s and 60s, 70s, and 80s have a new thing happening to our planet, which is carbon dioxide. I know, it's a boring subject, but what can we do about it, you know? Our country has laid out a goal to reduce our CO2 by 50% in the next 9.5 years. And what can Sun City do? What can we specifically do? Well, we can think about it. So I'm asking the board to think about it. And also, I know you got a lot on your plate already, but put this in the back of your plate. My question is, why can't we increase the number of solar panels in our parking lots? That was a beautiful idea, and it does quite a job of providing shade. I like to tell people from out of town, gosh, it's so hot in Sun City. Yeah, but in the shade I can take it, you know. And it produces electricity, free electricity. So kind of look ahead, please. And I talked to Mr. Bruce Lee yesterday. Sorry, Mike, I didn't ask you first. Nice guy, knows his stuff. He's got all the panels working. And he tells me that, does anyone know Mr. Bruce Lee? He's an employee of, he wears one of those shirts, you know. And he's in charge of the solar panels. Says we have the ability to produce about 2 megawatts. Oh, I know. The gearheads love megawatts, but nobody else does. What's a megawatt? Well, 2 megawatts is 2,000 kilowatts. What's that? 2,000 kilowatts is 2 million watts. So that's what we're producing, we can produce. And what does that do? Well, APS charges you every hour they send you a kilowatt. They call it a kilowatt hour, and they charge you 18 cents. We have 2,000 of them free, so we're going to save $36,000 on paper. I know it's on paper. So why not increase it? Why not go ahead and get some more? So that brings me to my little thing. I'm forming a club called the Renewable Energy Club here in Sun City, and I need 25 signatures. Please come and see me afterwards and put down your name. The purpose will be to gather data, make it available for Sun City residents to look for savings using renewable energy and hopefully work closely with Bruce Lee. So help me get it rolling by signing. I'll be at the back door. Once we get it rolling, we'll have some experts, we'll have some brains, we'll have maybe do articles, maybe we'll get some renewable energy, retired new renewable energy engineers. And what else? And we'll help Sun City. So to sum it up, let's look ahead. Renewable seems to be part of the answer right now. And let's think about increasing our panels and look at our buildings. By the way, I didn't mention that, but there are environmental design certification institutes that help save energy in buildings. One of them is called LEED, L-E-E-D, which means Leadership in Environmental Design. There's a building at ASU that that got their Platinum Award because it has 0 footprint and everything like that. But at least in our buildings, we can look ahead a little bit and try to get a minimum certification and save energy. So let's look ahead and do all that. And I thank you for your time. Thank you very, very much. If you have any questions, just ask me.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Ron Kopis.
Good morning, Madam President and Board of Directors. My name is Ron Kopis. My number is 146015, and I'm the president of the softball club. I guess the first thing I'd like to comment on is I'm kind of a numbers person, so Director Hofer and Secretary Lear, when you talk about surveys and numbers, the client asks a CPA, well, what do the numbers say? And the CPA's answer was, what do you want them to say? So I totally understand surveys and how you can skew them, you can do what you want to with them, but I have to go back to, if you're really trying to do a survey that's trying to get information from people, then any effort that you make probably is a good one. So I appreciate your effort in that area. Commingling back with softball now is wonderful. It seemed like we've missed a family that has been gone for a year and a half, and all of a sudden now we've got them back, and we're literally having a ball. So that's a fun thing. What I want to talk about this morning isn't so much fun. It's the fact that we've had 4 B&Es now at the park. We have 3 outbuildings, and they've been broken into now for the 4th time. We thought that we had the building secured because we had steel bars that went across it. The doors locked. We had a big padlock on it. Plus, we had another lock on the other end of it. This last B&E, they came with grinders, and they ground the bar right off. They took a drill, and they drilled out the $200 lock. You know, so we're not dealing with kids. We're dealing with professionals. We've lost over $6,000 worth of goods, and that's our best guess. So we probably have lost more than that. On a good note, Chris Herring has been incredibly good with us and helped us replace some of the things we had to replace, and he has found us a room at Oakmont, which is 1.5 miles from the ballpark, that we are storing stuff. The veterans are madder than a hornet right now, and they want to put somebody up on the grassy knoll and take care of business. But I kind of told them, let's not do that, okay? It's not a good idea. The downside is that they stole all of our Veterans Day flags and banners and everything, over $600 worth of that stuff in this last one. $600 worth of softballs. It's very, very frustrating because they've proven to us that we cannot secure our buildings. That's the sad part, because we worked really hard to secure the buildings, and we thought we had it done. We don't. We can't secure the buildings. So really, anything that has value that we have to have at the park every day, we have to put in the clubhouse. So we're literally putting stuff on top of things in there and then shutting the door. And then we got to unload it all the next day to be able to use it. And it's very frustrating in the fact that we have to drive 1.5 miles now to store stuff and go back and forth. I will leave here today. I will go to the storage unit and get stuff and take it to the ballpark. Tomorrow I'll take it back. It's going to be that way for a while. And don't hear me whining, okay? Because I'm not. Yes, I am. I want to get a fix to it, and I'm not really sure what that looks like. So in conversation with Chris and with some board members, I've taken the liberty to address some of the issues. One is that I've drawn the park. And one of the things with the demographics and the data that has been shared with me is that in 10 years from now, the people living in Sun City are going to be 70 and still working perhaps. So they're probably going to be, if they're going to be playing ball, they might be playing ball at night. So on this drawing, I've also put lights on it, which I wasn't a proponent of lights at all. But after that data was shared with me, that information, it does make sense. So I put that on the drawing. The other things I put on the drawing is I have put one of the things that we want at the park is a batting cage. Right now, a lot of our players go to D-bats over off of Thunderbird, and they spend a lot of money being in a batting cage because the pitching machine pitches balls to them. Well, I was making a proposal that we make our own batting cage, and Chris suggested to me that to secure it, because we have a $4,000 pitching machine with a token machine up by where you bat, you either use a credit card or you put tokens in it. There's no money in it. So it'll pitch to you X number of balls, and then you can hit off of it. So we want to have that and want to build that. Well, I did a drawing yesterday. I told you earlier I did a little thing with architecture for 23 years. I drew up what a batting cage with a storage building would look like with the pitching machine inside the building. So we can open the door in the morning, people can go up and put their tokens in or their credit card, it can pitch to them all day long. At the end of the day, we can have somebody shut that door and it's secured. The other part of it is with the building that it's in, it's a block building, so now that is secured because it's steel doors, and if you're going to break into that building, I guess you probably could break into the Pentagon. I don't know. But anyway, to me, it's solutions, and I appreciate all of Chris's effort in helping us come up with those solutions and figure out how to do that. The frustrating thing is that we feel like we can't stop them. They stole the flag, and the American flag and the Arizona flag off of our big flagpole. Took the rope with it also. We had one of our members, it's a veteran, bring I think it's a 5 by 10 foot flag that we went out and we hung on the wall out in center field. It came off of a battleship when he was in the Navy, and he supplied that. So why am I here this morning? Because I feel like I have a responsibility to my membership to do whatever I can do and figure out whatever I can figure out to make the ballpark a better place to be and a more secure place. And that's why I've spent time on this. I will leave these drawings with Chris, and he can do what he wants to do with them, but I hope we do something soon. We want to have a batting cage soon, so it makes sense if we can do this storage building at the same time. It would serve a lot of two purposes. So, any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ron.
Bill Schoen?
Good morning. My name is Phil Schoen, and I'm the Vice President of the Line Dance Club,
What is your number, please?
16847. To be honest with you, you already answered my question I was going to bring up. And what I was mainly going to ask for was a waiving of the third meeting next month. But in the meantime, though, I would like to introduce you to our Line Dance Club. Our Line Dance Club is the largest line dance club in the United States. We have more members than anybody else. And a lot of them are here this morning. So I would like all the members of the Line Dance Club to stand up if they would.
Wow.
So as you can see, we really take pride and we love our club. I really want to thank you for waiving the third meeting, because that's what I was here for. But thank you very much. And I was going to go through what we have set up or what we are going to set up for the meetings. If you would like me to, I will still go through it. If not, the precautions and everything are
Actually, Phil, you are back to normal starting May 17th, so you're good to go.
We already have it set up, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Okay.
Laura Moore? Stella Van Ness?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you. My name is Stella Van Ness, and my rec number is 116314. My questions are relating to club issues, and while they may not be the responsibility of the board necessarily, I feel that this is an important and appropriate place to bring these issues due to Director Lehr's recent and ongoing monitoring of or desire to monitor attendance at clubs. I have a series of questions. First, there are clubs that have been required to merge or close. I would like to ask what the criteria was that was used in the recent closing and merging of the clubs that occurred. Second, were the clubs aware of the criteria that was going to be used regarding the merging and/or closure of those clubs? Third, if clubs were aware, when were they notified of this new criteria and what it was? If they were not aware, why were they not told? Fourth, if the same criteria is the same criteria going to be used going forward to any mergers or closings of other clubs? Fifth, how many new clubs are we anticipating closing and/or merging? Sixth, have any of these clubs been notified of the potential for having their doors closed or having to merge with another club? Seventh, if attendance or membership at clubs was a part of the criteria for the possible closing or merger of clubs, how far back was the attendance or membership evaluated? Eighth, was the past year, while we were in a pandemic, also included in the criteria used to close and/or merge those clubs? And that's all the questions I have right now.
Okay,
Madam President?
okay. Otherwise, I'm going to have Chris respond because
Well,
Chris
I
is...
wanted to just
Okay.
respond that I know I'm not always lockstep with everybody else on this board, but this has nothing to do with me. I do think that utilization data, and I've pushed for years, is really important. But over a year and a half ago, we turned that over to management. And one of the things that we asked for was the criteria for club space. That's all done under management. And Chris Herring did a wonderful report, and I'm sure that he would be able to answer those questions. But it really has nothing to do with us up here.
But Dale, as you said, you asked for the criteria. The board asked for the criteria,
Yes, I did.
hence putting it back on the board. That's why I'm bringing it to this board. You were the one that was asking
Yes.
for the continuing monitoring and the reporting. You asked for the criteria. That's why I'm bringing it to the board, and I want to know what the criteria was, why clubs were merged, and what's going to happen going forward.
And again, that would be Chris Herring who could answer that. Chris, do you have your information?
Madam President, board members, I don't have that readily handy with me today. What I would first maybe point Ms. Van Ness to would be to the YouTube video of the December 17th meeting, and that would be a good starting point. I can provide that link to you. That will be the firsthand presentation that was presented. She'll be able to see that firsthand. I'm willing to respond to the 8 different line items that she posed today. I think it'd be more prudent to do that offline than in the meeting today, if you would agree with that. But I think I can get that YouTube video to her, to that link, so she can see. I think that answers quite a few of those questions
Yes,
as well.
I would agree. Okay, thank you.
Madam President,
Yes,
I would also like to add that a lot of the stuff decisions that we're making does not reflect the stuff that happened during the pandemic, because we didn't have anything to use for the pandemic. So we had nothing. I mean, nobody was open. A lot of stuff was not going on. So we kind of just act like that year didn't even happen.
yes, that is true. Okay, thank you, Stella and Chris, on that one. Marcia?
Marcia McGovern? Okay. Barbara Powell? Patrick Gannon.
Patrick Gannon, member number 150056. And my first question is about the minutes, page 3 of the April 12th minutes for your under member comments. It says, a member inquired about the status of a table motion from a previous meeting. And I happened to be at that meeting, and there was a very spirited discussion. I thought it was great. But if I didn't watch the video, and I know the videos are available, and I really appreciate that, but if someone just gets their updated minutes with the notice of the board, they wouldn't have any idea, number one, that it was debated, or what the motion was, or the consequence of the motion. So my request is simple, I think, is that can there be a little more detail when a motion, or when a member comes forward with something of significance, like a motion that was tabled, just to give a little more information to those people that read the minutes but don't watch a video. So that's my request.
Okay.
Okay. My second item is regarding the treasurer's report for this meeting. If you can refer to that. In this quarter's treasurer's report, and I do thank you, you guys provide a lot of information. I just want to preface my remarks by that. Under the investment report, it talks about in the second paragraph, it talks about the $2.5 million unrestricted cash reserve. And it talks about there being 3 things that it's invested in: certificates of deposit, treasury bills, and corporate bonds. And my request, I think, is a simple one. Would it be reported when there's information here, but it doesn't talk about how much is each of those 3 categories. If there could be 3 columns, one for each of the categories. And the reason I ask for that is because it goes on to say, in various FDIC insured items or certificates of deposit. And it may lead the reader to think that all of these things are in FDIC insured deposits or certificates. And I don't believe that's the case. I think there's a maximum per financial institution of $250,000 for a FDIC insured certificate. It would just give the members a little better sense of the risk. And there's nothing to do about that, but I don't think, unless the risk would get too high in the other categories.
Okay, I'll have Janek respond.
Okay.
Madam President, Board of Directors, Mr. Gannon, all of our certificate of deposits are under the $250,000 limit, so they are all FDIC insured.
Thank you. And I guess the treasury bills and corporate bonds are not FDIC insured, though, right? FDIC insured, right? So that's why I would be asking, because what percentages of those investments are in the CDs, in the treasury bills, and in the corporate bonds would give a better sense of what's insured and what isn't insured. It's just an information piece that clarifies, and that would be my request. And this one I think is a real easy one. Another member who intended to be here but couldn't at the last minute make it. And I guess I preface it by saying, given the board's vote to approve getting back to normal on May 17th, the question is, will clubs be able to announce or post events for signups prior to May 17th or events that happen after May 17th?
They should be able to post it beforehand.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you. And then this one's very specific, and I think it's under the May 17th rule as well, but will more chairs and tables be added to the patios at the golf courses so people may eat together?
That is also, that was listed in the May 17th plan.
Okay, thank you very much. And finally, I guess I just have a comment that I'm surprised that the board that approved the goals of a long-range planning committee, what I heard was a year and a half ago. Now, after a year and a half later, after all the work of those volunteers and other people that worked on that, to say, well, no, now we're not going to do one of the goals of the committee after the work's been done, I think that really sends a message to current and potential volunteers on committees that maybe your work's not worth anything. Or maybe the goal we set out and everyone agreed to, we decided not to do that. So I am a real fan of thinking that more information is better than less information. And I wholeheartedly agree with the comment that just because you collect the data doesn't mean you're going to do anything on the list. That's a separate motion and a separate vote. So I'm just really disappointed because they've been working on it for a long time. Now if we engage somebody else, it'll be another year and a half before we get information. And the rest of the world's going on without us in terms of what our priorities are. So that's my comment on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Rhonda Cage. Scott Cage. Patty Thompson. You're all line dancers, I don't know. Marcia Thompson. And Jim English. Those are all the names, Madam
Okay.
President.
All right. Now we will open up the floor for anyone who did not sign up but would like to speak. And when you approach the microphone, we ask that you state your name and member number. And while we do not have a time limit for speaking, we do ask that you are considerate of time, so everyone who wants will have a chance to speak. If you make comments and then want to return a second time, we ask that you wait until everyone gets an opportunity to speak, and then time allowing, you can return for additional comments. Ben.
Good morning. Ben Roloff, 12663, my RCSC number since August 8th, 1997. It's been a few months since I stopped in to share a little bit of Sun City history with you, and Sun City RCSC history in particular. And one of the items that I had noted for myself was a note wasn't on my little list, and that came up because of Director Schrader's motion about the lawn bowling. That's been a repeated motion for many years, ever since 1974, when the RCSC board declared Sun City the lawn bowling capital of the world. And no one ever disputed it, so I guess we remain as such. A little side note, as a representative of the museum, this week we had one of our history notes was about how Sun City got lawn bowling in the first place. And that was because of a friendship between two pretty well-known people. Walt Disney, who was a lawn bowling devotee, and a man by the name of Del Webb. And Walt Disney convinced Del Webb that Sun City should add lawn bowling as an amenity as it started out its new active retirement community. And that's where it all began. Today I wanted to share with you just a couple of things, both current and past, in terms of our history. Most currently, I think we as a community would not be remiss, or we would be remiss, if we did not acknowledge some history related to our retiring general manager, Jan Eck. Jan, many of you probably do not know, was the very first and only female general manager in our history, and will at least remain that way for the immediate future. She also is our longest serving general manager in the history of the RCSC. And that should be noted. A third thing that should be noted is that Jan came to us as the most professionally prepared general manager in our history, and has done nothing but add to those qualifications. If you look at her bio, she has more professional initials behind her name in terms of, I mean, I look for a doctor that's board certified. And that's good. But Jan has been certified and certified and certified and acknowledged by every professional community management association in the country. So thank you, Jan, for all of those years of service. The current board. My mother loved that commercial that was Virginia Slims, I think it says. We've come a long way, baby.
Yes.
Well, we have. I stand here today looking at our first female president, President Sue Wilson.
Third, actually.
Really?
There have been three, yes. I'm the third one.
I'm not aware of that after spending time in the boardroom on many occasions looking at the pictures of all past boards. Well, then we'll forget that one, cross it off the list, but how about this? How about this one? In 1960, the census was taken in Sun City, and the population was recorded as 0. The census data was finished in late April, and none of the residents had moved in yet. Their houses weren't built. So from 60 to 70, our population officially was 0. That changed 1970, 80, 90, 2000, 2010, and soon to be released, the 2020 census. In that censuses, our population breakdown has always showed a considerable majority of female residents to male. If we go up and look at the rogues gallery of former boards, and each picture of every board all the way back to 1968 is up in the boardroom at Lakeview. Yours is the first, which will show a majority of females on the board for the very first time. And that goes back all the way to 1968, even though the populations have always shown a population superiority in numbers numerically for females. So we've come a long way. And I think that's probably a very, very good thing. Now, I say by a long way, you think about it this way. At the very first meeting of the Recreational Centers Board, after the combined 2 rec boards that we had up until 1968, 2 different recreation boards, and they merged in 1968, the very first act of the RCSC board was to announce that they were going to appoint 9 good men to put together a budget.
First mistake.
So things have come a long way, and it will be interesting looking ahead in the next 10, 20 years as to what happens. I always have to leave you with something about the past. What was happening with boards 50 years ago in April and May of 1971? They were concerned with security also. Security was a big issue. The big issue was at Lakeview and at Viewpoint Lake. And it involved the hill, Meeker's Hill, Meeker Mountain. We had a double problem that the RCSC board and management were facing. It was what I would call the double H, homeless hippies, who thought that on top of Meeker Mountain at night was a good place to gather. And with the coolness of the evening, perhaps made a mistake and used the wooden benches at that time to build a campfire. And it raised some concern of the general manager, Jay Titus, who formerly was the longest-serving general manager, and came to the board requesting proposals for enhancing the security by contracting with Maricopa County. He came with multiple options. That was the same Jay Titus, by the way, Jan, who, as one of his final acts, put a recommendation on the president's desk for a change in policy, and then went on vacation. And it was for the meeting that was going to happen 2 days later. And the meeting was, the recommendation was to add to a policy approved the month before, when the policy regarding swimming and all the regulations required that all males, in addition to all long-haired males, in addition to females, would have to wear bathing hats to enter the swimming pools. And followed that up, but by the way, the board passed that for a very short period of time. He followed that up with another amendment to require men with facial hair find a way to cover the facial hair while using the swimming pools. That didn't gain a lot of traction in the community, and in fact may very well have hastened the departure of General Manager Titus. So the areas of concern the board has to deal with are varied. That's never changed. You know, there will always be problems to solve. There will always be those of us who live in the community who appreciate you so very much for the time that you invest on behalf of all of us. Thank you. Good luck. Salute.
Thanks, Ben.
Good morning. And I want to thank you all for all your service. Can you hear me?
Number?
Pardon? Oh, yes. My name is Bella Romaine, 12594. Give me a second here. 125949. It's been over a year since I've used that. First of all, thank you so very much. As a proud line dancer of the largest line dance club in the nation, thank you so much for waiving that third reading and approval so that we know for sure we're starting back May 17th, or in the case of the line dance club, May 18th. It is a wonderful club. And speaking as somebody, and I know I'm not the only one who has severe arthritis, line dancing on a floating wood floor is the only exercise I can do without being in extreme pain. So that makes a major difference in my life, and I thank you all very much. The second thing that just occurred to me, and I don't know if it's a moot point, because you've already approved the agenda item introduced by Mr. Duthu regarding tires used on golf car vehicles. I'm not a golfer, and I don't golf, but I have friends who do. I totally understand the desire not to use a non-traditional vehicle like a scooter or something like that on the golf course. However, the notion that tires used must be referred to as a golf course tire, those are the really small tires. My understanding is about 50% of the households in Sun City have at least one golf cart, okay? And probably like ours, they are not all golf course tires. They are street legal, that they can be driven right now, at least, on the golf course, but also on the streets. The regular tires that you'll see that are not golf cart tires are a little larger, but they're not like scooter tires. They're not something that would destroy the grounds or anything like that. And I think a lot of people will be stunned to know that their golf car that they are using would all of a sudden be rendered unable to be used on the golf courses. This is just something for you all to consider. I don't know, like I said, if this is a moot point now, but it just occurs to me, I would just hate to see that happen for people to have invested in their golf cars and all of a sudden be told, because your tire is not a, quote, golf course tire, which is the smaller tire, but you're street legal. In other words, you can drive it on the street, you can have, with turn signals and the seat belts and everything like that. I would hate for many of my friends who do play golf to all of a sudden find out that they cannot use their vehicles. It's just something for you all to consider if it's possible. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Hello. I thank you all for being here today and giving us all this information. My name is Anna Montini. I'm a resident of Sun City for close to 30 years at the same place.
Number? What is your number?
20545. 20545. And I've been here a resident for almost 30 years at the same place. I think I know Sun City pretty well, and I know a lot of people. And I'm very involved with neighborhood networks here in Sun City. I was with the Homeowners Association on the board some time ago. I was the deputy town clerk in Youngtown when Mayor Needham and Gosanovich were there. So I know my area pretty well, and I've done a lot of things here. I have one concern that I just noticed here in the projects at the rec centers. Has anybody brought to attention the issue of security? There's a lot of crime rising here in Sun City and the area surrounding Sun City. Stuff is being stolen when people are at the gym, or when people are at the pool, or where the golf carts are parked in the parking lot. And I was wondering, of all the projects, I don't see any kind of security or cameras. I know I was stolen, and when I asked if they have a security system so I can see a video or I can make a report or something, nobody knew about it, nobody could give me an answer, and if they had one, nobody knew how to operate it. So I was wondering, this is some issue that as time goes by, it should be looked at because things are not getting easier. We have a lot of influx of different, residents coming from you don't know where, which is fine, not a problem. But security is important for us who live here and who attend the rec centers on a very regular basis, like I do. I attend Sundial a lot, and I attend Fairway a lot, and things start missing from cars. Golf carts have disappeared. My cell phone was stolen at the Fairway, stuff of that nature. So I was wondering if you would consider that in the near future.
Actually, our third reading today on motion 2 by Secretary Lair was to approve and allow for an RFP dealing with our safety and security initiative.
I don't know.
So we have been dealing with that.
Because I don't see it here on the projects, and that was something that raised my curiosity.
That is something we're working on.
Yeah, because sometimes it's a concern. I mean, even at night when I'm watering my plants, I see strange things happening, and there's a lot of people here, as you probably know, I'm sure you're aware, a lot of ladies, older ladies, living alone. And I don't know, even the posse, as a matter of fact, rarely see them driving. And if they drive so fast, I don't think they even pay attention to what they're looking at.
Right. And our initiative is dealing with our rec centers and our golf courses and the Sun Bowl and the softball field. That's where we branch out.
Thank
Anybody
you
else would have
very
to go
much.
through
I hope you keep it in your mind.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any more?
Good morning, Madam President and members of the board. My name is Lori Ellingson. My member number is 133335. I am here today to address concerns for the remodel of Mountain View Rec Center. My question to the board is, how am I able to get suggestions to the management team on feedback for the preliminary options for the master plan for Mountain View?
Okay, when the architect has designed that, it will be on display at board meetings where you would be able to comment. We're also planning on having a town hall meeting somewhere in the future to go over those as well.
Are those plans already set in stone?
Those plans, Jan?
We actually plan to bring it at the next board meeting, May 10th, and we will present at that board meeting with the architects what we have as a general layout. It's not all detailed yet, but a general layout of, based on what the ad hoc committee, and then therefore the board approved for Mountain View. And I would certainly suggest that you attend that meeting. And if not possible, you're more than welcome to come and speak with us, either Mike or myself, regarding some of your concerns, but that'll be a full presentation at the next board meeting.
Thank you, Jan. So I do have some recommendations. Is it beneficial for me to state them now, or should I just make a meeting with you?
Either way.
I'll just quickly go through a few issues that I would hope that we were able to address. Last year, I attended several meetings for the ad hoc planning committee to discuss what was needed for the remodeling of Mountain View Rec Center. I asked to be on the committee at that time, but was informed that it had already been formed, and the only thing I could do was attend the meetings and listen, but not speak.
Actually, we had a time at the end of each meeting for people in the audience to speak, so that
Correct.
isn't quite true.
Yes, what you stated is correct. I could speak after the meeting was over. I asked to be contacted for suggestions and help before any plans were submitted for approval. When the RCSC shut down because of COVID restrictions, I was not allowed to attend any more meetings. As a member of both the tennis club and the pickleball club, I felt that my input would be extremely valuable during the planning phase. I hold an undergraduate degree in physical education with a K-12 teaching certificate endorsed in physical education. I also hold a master's degree in exercise physiology and kinesiology. I have worked in the recreational and health and fitness industry for 44 years. During that time, I was a varsity coach for high school volleyball, basketball, and softball teams, as well as a physical education instructor for grades 10 through 12. After that, I have worked in the health and fitness industry for the remaining years. During those 44 years, I've worked at over 15 different health clubs and recreation centers. I have also attended seminars and workshops at 20-plus facilities too many to mention. During those 44 years, I have utilized the building facilities and equipment as both a member and an employee. Due to my qualifications and experience listed above, I believe that my input into the planning of the new facility at Mountain View would be extremely helpful and valued. Too many times I have seen management close down a facility to remodel and inconvenience the members for an extended period of time, only to open the club to a disappointed membership when the changes that were made were not an improvement and oftentimes made usage of the facility more inconvenient and less functionable. Although I do appreciate the time and effort that the ad hoc planning committee spent on helping to move forward with the plans to remodel the Mountain View Rec Center, I believe that their plans are not in the best interests of the RCSC cardholders. I believe there is a dire need to separate the theater from the rec center. I feel that the theater should be built in a new location separate from the Mountain View site. I think plans to build the theater should come first, and then when that project is finished, then we should move forward with the remodel at Mountain View. Members of the theater have been asking for a new facility for a very long time, and their needs should come first. I think it is important to keep a separation of the Performing Arts Center from the Fitness Center. My suggestions for separating the theater from the rec center at Mountain View are based on the following reasons. Number one, noise factor. Putting the theater adjacent to the pickleball courts is not a well thought out plan. The noise that is made when a pickleball is hit with a paddle has caused major lawsuits and concerns for numerous facilities throughout the United States. The city of Fort Collins, Colorado, dealt with a battle from residents when tennis courts were converted into pickleball courts in a public park right across the street. Sun City Grand also dealt with a lawsuit by homeowners whose homes were adjacent to the existing tennis courts. A condominium association in Vail, Colorado dealt with the same issues when pickleball courts were built in the Golden Peak area. If you put a theater right next to the pickleball courts, you're going to have to spend an excess amount of money to soundproof the theater, and even then, you most likely will hear noise from the courts. Will there be a need to shut down usage of the pickleball courts during a performance in the theater? If so, why inconvenience the pickleball club members and stifle their use of play? Last year, I was playing tennis at the same time that there was a performance by the theater club. There was no need for me to buy a ticket, as I could hear the singing perfectly fine from the tennis courts. Although you could argue that the acoustics in the existing building are slim to none, why take a chance of having the same problem occur when the new building is finished? And why have to add an additional expense to add layers and layers of insulating noise reduction material to the new building? Parking spaces. The ADA requires a certain number of handicap parking spaces based on the type of usage of each building. If the theater is attached to the rec center, the majority of parking at the main entrance to the building will have to be designated as handicap. Why inconvenience the pickleball, tennis, lawn bowling, swimming, fitness, miniature golf, and other members who will be utilizing the building on a daily basis by making them park further away from the main entrance because of the stipulations imposed by the ADA on parking requirements for the theater, which will get use on a less amount of time? cost involved, and lack of fiduciary responsibilities in expenditures. It doesn't make sense to bulldoze perfectly good tennis courts to make room for a new building to go in its place. The surface of the tennis courts at Mountain View are in great shape. There is already fencing around the courts, and it would be a waste of money to demolish that area to make room for a new building. However, the tennis courts at Lakeview are in a sad, sad state of affairs. The nets are all torn and tattered, the surface has cracks on every court and holes the size of diameter of a basketball. Also, the fence between the first and second court is too close to the sidelines of the tennis courts, making it unsafe for play. I was told it would be around $30,000 to $40,000 to rebuild those courts so that they were safe, playable, and operational. Why build the theater on perfectly good courts at Mountain View when you could build the theater at Lakeview on an area of land that needs to be totally demolished already? Fourth item, inconvenience to the various clubs currently utilizing the Mountain View Rec Center. Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the United States and is going to continue to grow in popularity. It makes much more sense to utilize the 2 tennis courts at Mountain View and convert them into 8 additional pickleball courts. That would bring the total number of pickleball courts to 15. There would be minimal expense involved to make that conversion, and it could be done without shutting down the existing facility. The new plans call for shutting down the entire Mountain View Rec Center during the construction phase. If I am correct, I believe the new plans call for eliminating 3 of the existing pickleball courts and building 4 new courts with an end result of only 1 additional court. This is not a good plan at all. It is an inconvenience to the players to not have use of the facility for over a year or however long it takes to have the new construction be finished. Once it is finished, the pickleball players will have to park further away, check in at the main entrance, walk down a hallway, and finally arrive at the new courts, only to have 1 additional court for play. Then there's no room to add more pickleball courts in the future because the new building is too close to the pickleball courts. Therefore, I suggest that a separate building should be built for the theater at one of the following locations. 1, the northwest corner of the parking lot at the Sun Bowl. 2, the location where the Lakeview tennis courts currently are. Or 3, the southeast corner of Bell Rec Center where the farmers market is currently located. Each of these locations would have ample parking, would be easily accessible to all members, and would be deemed as a separate performing arts center, not a recreational center. Thank you for your time and consideration in this matter.
Thank you for your input. Any other members? Okay, seeing none. At this time, does any member of the board have any comments they would like to make? Okay, seeing none, our next date is May 10th, 2021, here in the Sundial Auditorium at 9 a.m. I need a motion to adjourn.
Madam President, I so move.
Okay, Treasurer Rooney made the motion. Vice President Eggy seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.